Hi there, welcome to the MIA podcast, where we explore the topic of will Australian manufacturing ever return to the glory days of the 60s? And today we have an amazing guest, Jeff Hilditch from Nuflow. So welcome, Jeff.
Thanks, John. Nice to meet you.
So one of the things that we love about the MIA podcast is really looking at businesses who either support manufacturing or those who are in manufacturing as well. And Nuflow is an Australian manufacturer. So, Jeff, do you want to tell us a little bit about your business, what you do, why you're unique, and essentially how you fit into Australian manufacturing?
Thanks, John. Nuflow Australasia, as we now are Australia, New Zealand, Asia, basically operated from about 2004. Ed Ahern went across to a world fair, saw some technology overseas, formed a relationship with Nuflow Canada and US, and got the rights for setting up a distribution channel, training people to reline. So we're as aging infrastructure, pipes, sewer, potable water, stormwater, fire mains, etc., age, then the typical response is it's leaking. We need to come and fix it. Traditional plumbers come in, disrupt, cut, dig, and replace. Sometimes in architecture, that's not always possible. So Nuflow's got a range of pipe relining solutions that are pipe inside a pipe. And in brief, we're putting a camera down, we're inspecting, we're auditing, we're ascertaining needs. We then decide to put a structural liner, if needed, inside the pipe. And we manufacture that liner in Australia. So 2005, we started making the geofabric liner, the resins, bringing components together. And we started off with probably about 10 or 12 installation people across Australia. We now have 60 plus installation teams. And that product is manufactured on the Gold Coast in Australia. So Australian-made manufacturing, taking away the timeframe, lead times, getting it from Europe or US or China in the past and getting to Australia. And we supply about 45 plus franchise partners as we have them now, which are all mostly branded Nuflow. And they have training, they're also field support, supply channel, and then warranties for installation and product go hand in hand. So Nuflow's developed, probably evolved 3 times in a manufacturing base over that period of time. We now run a 4,000 square meter manufacturing facility on the Gold Coast, and we supply from a hub here to Australia, New Zealand, and Asia. So it's a pipe relining business that gives a new way of thinking, or an alternative option to breaking into walls, into ceilings, into floors, pavement, landscape gardens. And we can come inside, put a pipe inside a pipe, has a cure period. We have an inflation process that inflates the pipe up against the pipe and it adheres to the pipe. And then we pull that back out, and there you go. Brand new pipe inside a pipe, giving a 50-year warranty.
So I guess firstly, just to spruik a well-known business. I think it was quite recently, did a whole bunch of work at Sydney's Taronga Zoo
Yes.
to realign their pipes. Do you want to?
Yeah. Well, I think people come to us for problem sites, and we're what we call a pipe reactive specialist team. We have a manufacturing division that through R&D, we ascertained the right liner would fit in that application with the right resin. It wouldn't be harmful to the animals. We had a process of installation, which our local Nuflow Sydney City team were asked to go and inspect the site. Iconic site, and they're very proud of what they did there. That was and they had to camera down, take all the water out of the holding area, reline that within a couple of days, and then recommissioned it. So they've got no sort of visible deterioration to the landscape or to the display or to the area. And that was, no one else could offer that solution. So our guys went out there, come back, check with our R&D division, check with our installation support, went back and handed it over, did a first-class job, and now doing more jobs out there with pits and chambers. And I think it's an awareness when they start talking to our people what we can actually do. really provides multiple options for other parts of the park there. So no, great site, great iconic outcome.
Yeah, and just quickly, I mean, if it hadn't been for your solution, there would have been, I guess, earthworks and all the equipment involved with that, the disruption. There would have been, it would have been a pretty momentous task, I would imagine.
The biggest thing for us is having access. So once we can put a camera down there and it goes down like a surgery, people putting inside the body and understanding what's going on, we do the same thing with infrastructure. We ascertain, do we need to reline the whole pipe or part of the pipe? And therefore, it becomes a cost-effective solution. Critically on that site, you can see the Sydney Opera House, you can see the harbour, the pathways, the landscape, the actual structure itself. We just needed 2 points of access, and we established that. Our footprint for doing the work is quite small. We have Mercedes vans that go, so not taking up a lot of the space, and we could be in and out so as not to disrupt the public. So very safe, cost effective. Certainly the cameras give us the view of what we can and can't do. We also then have a special app that no one else has, that means when we were installing it, we have a GPS locator, we explain what we did, what the liner was, etc. And our client gets a report back, which gives them proof or transparency that something actually did happen.
Yeah, and I guess they get to update their records as well. I mean, there must be a few older works where you've got someone scribbled or something on a piece of paper and probably got lost somewhere. So you've got updated information as well from a business intelligence standpoint, at least. Anyway.
Oh, we're looking at a job at Sydney Harbour Trust, and that's obviously heritage. It's a different, it's a federal government site, but that particular site's got aging buildings and infrastructure, and the heritage value alone is getting in without digging up and disrupting is another site which we're looking at the moment, and it's all due to another option via alternative traditional plumbing. So I think it's we've been in business for 20 years in Australia. Relining's been happening in Europe for much longer than that. Critical, everyone sells good products, but we manufacture it, we supply it, we train, we install. We have a team of people committed to this and very passionate about relining. And not every site, there's, when you go to a site like Taronga Zoo or others, there's lots of pipes there. So it could be conduit pipes, it could be chambers that are leaking, it could be many things. So having the ability to adapt to the aging 50, 100-year-old, 150-year-old pipes, shapes and sizes and materials, one of the advantages that Nuflow technologies offer.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And, I love the fact that it is manufactured in Australia. And I think, there's a couple of layers there. There's one, obviously the employment layer, and the sustainability layer as well, which is incredibly important. I've gotten, I don't know how many tens of millions of kilometers, whatever it might be, of piping we must have in Australia or around the world. But, to not have to replace that if you don't have to, and have a sustainable alternative is, I think it's fantastic as well.
I think one of the things we established early, and Ed Ahern is the owner of the business, he established not only the product, but we needed to make it in Australia. So he actually created his own research and development team. And by doing that meant we came up against potable water where there wasn't a solution for relining asbestos pipes or cast iron in a reactive space. We've developed a product to do that, 40/20 approved, drinkable water for water mains from 40 mil to a metre. So then we come up against sites that have got trade waste or chemicals, and we've developed a high temp resin. We've gone and developed a high wear. Right behind me is a product we're launching very shortly, which is Nuflow Ultralight. Now, having your own chemist, polymer chemist working for us, we've taken probably the first step to a world best practice of an epoxy resin cured by a light train. So traditional lining may be a resins A and B mixed together. They'll suit whether it's underwater cure or whether it's high temperature or high wear. And that is installed, and the resins will go off and they'll cure in about 4 to 6 hours. It can be enhanced by extra steam or hot water. This new product can cure in 10 minutes. So it's a product which is an epoxy resin, there's a fiberglass 3D liner, it's thinner, twice as strong, lighter. So that means we don't need as many crews. We can do smaller teams can do longer, pull it in. It's not as heavy, and it also can cure in about a quarter of the time. That means they can mobilise onto the next job or be getting trained workforce in Australia and New Zealand at the moment is very difficult. COVID's caused us some issues, and the level of plumbers that go into relining are more interested, more motivated, more researched, better planners than day-to-day cottage type plumbers or roofing type plumbers. So you need a skill set. But if you imagine you can do with this product, the Nuflow Ultraline, which is being launched this year, something you can get into a job that's already pre-wet out for form, goes to site, it's cut, a bladder goes inside, it's pulled in place once we know where it has to go, and a light train comes through and sets off that resin under a half an hour. You basically do the sums. Yeah, you're 4 to 5 times more effective, and it's made in Australia, developed in Australia by our chemist. The liners are put together here. We sent it out to our team. It's a co-investment with our American partners, which is Nuflow US and Canada, but the light train and the resin's ours. So we've put together a collaboration of technology along with our product manufacturing, and that's going to be a huge benefit for minimising disruption when things go wrong. So you imagine when you see the streets of somewhere in Australia, a water main bursts. And that can be millions of water lost. So there's your sustainability, environmental savings for a start. If you had the ability to do some pre-audits, pre-inspections to establish the life cycle of that pipe, and you can do some proactive maintenance, that's where Nuflow steps in. We can come in and we can do that patch or that liner. And then we have another product we're launching called NuCoat, which allows us, it's a resonance and application where we actually spray coat the pipes. So the ability to patch and coat then opens up a whole lot of opportunities in stormwater and sewer and potable water and fire mains. And it's both effective for the sewer stormwater and more importantly, the hidden cancer inside the Australian water industry is really asbestos pipes sitting there. So imagine putting a new coating inside those without digging up. You don't need to dispose of that product. Your footprint's smaller. We're on a curve where we're seeing some technology in 2022 and beyond, and we're playing a role right across Australia and New Zealand with education awareness through toolbox sessions or masterclasses or knowledge sharing sessions, just to help the industry understand there are some options. Australian made, installers are trained and accredited. There's a whole turnkey approach about it. So yeah, it's very exciting times.
Now, from a like broad manufacturing speak, one of the things I love about manufacturing in Australia is that the strong initiative and quality level that Australian manufacturing, I think, has always had. We're innovative, we're clever, and I think we've gone through some peaks and troughs around how we market that to the rest of the world. I look at products like this and, to get this out into, obviously you're exporting to New Zealand and parts of Asia. Do you want to firstly just talk about, I think, the R&D grants side of how you've worked with those types of grants, and then probably secondly, this next step of how you're looking to export that IP across the world as well?
Thank you. Look, one of the things we learned, you can develop a product in R&D, but getting it to market is another sort of big step. And when you're trying to educate a market which is risk averse and not confident of being the first to market, it's a hard journey. We've spent 3 to 5 years really of doing what we call knowledge sharing sessions, masterclasses, and presenting to consulting engineers and hydraulic consultants and council water authorities. And at their timing, due to contracts or moving to other parts of the infrastructure, we're probably now finding a lot of that stuff's been coming out. Feedback's been coming out. Have you got a solution for this? How would you approach that? Well, when we developed our green line, our potable water market in Australia, and a high temperature resin, we're now exporting that to America. So they're 20 times the size of us in their numbers of people that they install. So there's a market we've already, even though we've got the license to work in Australasia, we're now supplying products back to the US, Canada, UK through that channel. That's probably 18 years in the initial, when they first set up, and then we developed some products. So getting that out to the market and then working through the specification industry to at least have it considered is a hard journey. But when you're looking at, and COVID's probably brought it through, we will just rely on products coming to Australia. There was no need to get it. Well, sometimes liners take 12 weeks to get here. If we can turn things around in 3 to 4 days, and that's a great resource for the patch or repair or reactive market. So once there's a level of confidence built up with that relationship, council, water authority, strata, you start finding how would you approach this? So all of a sudden our R&D, which has done all the work, is now finding a channel, so to speak, to go and communicate. And so the main part for us has always been aligning ourselves to problem-solving solutions more than just a product. In the plumbing industry, they sell products. And no training is given to a plumber. We invest heavily in training, annually, boot camps. If we can get our confidence at the ground zero, which is where the installers are, and connect it with the specification or water industry, you can just see that's our growth in the last 2 to 3 years. And having ability to turn around inside a tighter time frame, sometimes it just is needed. And this year is probably a quantum leap, different equipment. So we might have had a process of wetting out liners where we just put resins A and B, mix it together, put it inside and roll it out. Now we've got calibration machines and machines that allow us to do much longer, bigger. So that's been when the market matures or when the market's open to new ideas. At least we've got support from the Queensland government with the Ignite program to support our Nuflow ultraline. So that's allowed us to take a concept, collaborate with some of our partners in the US and what we manufacture here, and turn that into a quick repair, structural liner twice as thick, twice as strong, half as thick. All of a sudden our capabilities for that same teams can mobilize and grow. So the biggest thing as I started is that how do you find installers, invest enough into learning and be patient enough to do it? Well, we're now finding technologies that we've developed in conjunction with machinery that can be put together, trained packages. So our scope is then for Fiji, we can resource them in a multi-person, like a journey person role. We don't need to have technically plumbers doing the work. So over there, it's a different skill set. If you're looking at Asia, again, where we're looking at how we can give them a kit, a package of solutions for different markets. And that's evolving much quicker now. So COVID's put the focus on, do you make it in Australia? Is it, what componentry? And we're about 75% of components to be Australian made. So there's a lot of awareness now that because of this shutdowns, lockdowns, it's great that Nuflow Technologies is doing this. So we just finished a job 2 or 3 years ago where we relined the whole fire systems for cans, Can Central, which is we were a third cheaper, did it a quarter quicker with minimal disruption and cutting. So that relined the fire services of some 30 years, which was leaking, and we actually pressurized a resin inside that. So we start again talking about site-specific problem solving for each site, and then having a manufacturing division that allows us, or the R&D, to produce it locally and then train people here to do it. So you don't just, it's not just manufacturing. We're about lucky having a franchise model, and that allows us to have people investing in that channel. It allows us to bring products to market through properly trained, accredited people, and it's giving transparency to the end user. So really it's a turnkey solution that it's lucky we started many years ago to build the foundations of the manufacturing, and the steps we did with 3 or 4 evolutions to where we are today. And who knows, next year we could triple the size of this business in the next 12 months because of, as you said earlier, the infrastructure is not getting any younger, and the solutions are needed for that sort of applications more and more.
Yeah, that's. I mean, that's truly exciting and huge amount of potential for your business, and and manufacturing as in general as well. Look, so one of the exciting things is I'd love to explore this a bit further. Is the size of the potential for the export market. Now, you did mention there is there are solutions in Europe at the moment. And obviously the US as well. Where's the export potential with Nuflow over the next few years?
Immediately, it's in the Australian-New Zealand market, where we've just formed stronger relationships in Hong Kong, Singapore, and India recently. We have people over there part of our licensed model. We've got Fiji Water talking to us now about what can happen and how can we offer. We're in discussions with someone based in Fiji to do that. The export opportunities that we're doing with our resins are somewhat singular in a couple of products that they don't have. So but their market, population-wise, is multiple times ours. So it opens up a scope through our existing franchisor or main business, which is in the US and Canada, and they have different people in South Africa, and so we might find that this particular UV epoxy resin market, which no one's really tapped into, and our polymer chemist, Dr. David Rogers, has developed it over the last 6 to 7 years. Sometimes that's how long it takes to get it ready for market, and then to find the package to it. It means that it doesn't shrink, it doesn't smell, it's environmentally friendly, but it opens itself up for a market in the potable water market where we see, which is enormous. I mean, I think in Victoria alone, there's estimates of something $30 billion worth of pipe sitting in the ground that something has to be decided with at a point in time, besides digging up or pipe bursting or doing something to asbestos pipe. And when you go into Sydney markets, a lot of steel pipes. So when you go overseas, sometimes the pipes are so old, they're actually timber pipes. So we've got a potential to go back upstream to our partner to license them to manufacture over there. So I think in Australia, New Zealand alone, and Asia, we've developed a 3D liner that's woven. That's part of the Ignite grant in conjunction with the resin. That opens up an opportunity to do much lighter, stronger, thinner liners, which means it's not as hard to pull that heavy weight of resin inside a liner inside of the pipe, and we don't need as many people. So all of a sudden, to mobilise it it's the vision is there. It always comes back to finding the installers who commit to it. The product's a waste of time if you don't have it properly trained, accredited people, doing the right thing, having great outcomes. So the journey for us is not just about supplying product out of the manufacturing, but also educating, training, resourcing. That is a critical component, even for a lot of products coming to Australia. Often very good products are relining products, but the failure is around the installation.
Yeah, got it. And I guess this fits into this whole, like the whole supply chain model and the we're looking at that side of it. I mean, it's probably I would say your business is relatively rare in terms of you are the manufacturer,
Yes.
the supplier, the trainer, and you've also got the franchise as well. I don't know of many manufacturers that have a franchise type model.
Having some 35 plus years in the plumbing and building industry, and having been involved in some on both sides at the coalface and with the manufacturers to supply the coalface, it's a bit of luck when you manufacture something and put it through a distribution model, whether it be builders, tilers, plumbers, electricians. What Nuflow Australasia has done is move from an initial licensing of plumbers into a franchise model, and then also support that with technical resources, trainers, business development people. It's like a mothership that actually supports our, and we've seen a cultural shift and leveraging of brands in the last 2 years, and you'll see as singular businesses are now part of a bigger group. So momentum for us is always about taking people on the journey. And in the plumbing industry, when you sell products, that's what happens. It's sold at the counter, and then a plumber goes in. Besides the TAFE training when they early started back in their day, having 2 boys that are plumbers now, they were self-taught or taught by their mentor who they work for. We've actually got a whole mentor relationship around our whole network. And we learn just as much from those people and listen to them or their experiences, and collaboration is a key for us to be successful moving forward. So expansion into international markets has to come with training, accreditation, confidence building, support on projects. You imagine pulling in a 40 mil pipe for pools or a 1.5 millimeter pipe diameter for stormwater. It might sound there's a range you offer, but there's a lot of technical knowledge that's required to do that. And you can't not plan. You have to plan, prepare, clean. So the point I'm getting to, it's someone has to invest in this industry, and when they invest into it, they have to be good planners. That they review things. They good at communication, explain what's to happen. Because we're actually educating civil contractors, councils. We're educating on what we do and how we reline. Their perception of relining, we have to unwind, meet with them, discuss with them, and only then do our franchise partners get involved. So there's a lot of prep work and a lot of review is done on behalf of council by engineers. So that's where we've been spending the last 5 years, is playing an educational role and awareness on pipe relining.
Yeah. Now, with the overseas market, now are you contacting these opportunities directly? Are you going through governments? Are they contacting you? How's that side of it working?
Right now, the World Wide Web is something that looks at our website. People search for the solutions out there, and a lot of inquiries are coming via that. We also have engineering companies that are based in Australia, but also worldwide. So they actually network amongst themselves when jobs present themselves. Because when you go to any exhibition, a lot of people sell products. We actually don't just sell products. We actually audit, manufacture, create solutions, have a fit for purpose, engineering backup. There's a whole, so it makes it a lot easier when someone's coming to us. They can get what can you provide us? What price points are we working within? What's indicative timeframes? You can have a discussion with a consultant or engineer that actually is taking back some valuable information to his client. So all of a sudden you're getting into boardrooms of, jobs worth 20,000 or 20 million to do, and you're ticking the boxes for them. So the next, now we can travel. There'll be a lot more us presenting at international engineering consultants or at events, and working more closely with our American partners as Nuflow in Canada or US. So I think there's a realization post-COVID, we've got to do things differently, and the market there is needing someone to present. Recently, we presented a paper at No Dig in Sydney with our chemist, Dr. David Rogers, and Floriana Kamain, our composite professor, and that they were a draw card what they're suggesting with this new UV product and with the 3D liner. So it's great that Australians can demand an opportunity to present to the Australian New Zealand audience, and all of a sudden want to talk to us. So that sort of has a natural ripple effect too. So I think for us, it's about we're in New Zealand at Three Waters in Christchurch in mid-October, presenting a paper there. So I think that sort of awareness is drawing the interest from around the world.
Yeah, I love that. That feeds back into that whole loop of, Australian manufacturing having such a renowned presence around the world. I think what that whole thing with the revival of Australian manufacturing from I think from what we're seeing from our end, there's definitely been a boost since COVID because of supply chain issues and everything else that came with it. And then you've got the Modern Manufacturing Initiative to sort of give that a bit of a push as well. Now, one of the things I'm just going to switch to put my marketing hat on for a second, because obviously we're a marketing company. We love helping businesses grow through very smart marketing. Now, when we were having a look at, we're having a look at your website just from a marketer's perspective as well. You've got all the right elements on there. You've got updated blog posts. You've got some really in-depth information about all of your products. But something I noticed as well is you've got a CRM system to support it, and you're using HubSpot. So,
yeah.
Do you want to talk a little bit about that without getting too deep into it?
Sure. So one of the things we've just done, we've been focusing initially on our marketing, what I call ground zero marketing. How do we connect with the mum and dads, and how do we cut through? So having case studies or promoting our local network of installers builds trust and recognition that it's accessible locally. The website's about to go through next 2 weeks, a massive change, and we're trying to make it simpler to read. What we've done with HubSpot initially, because we have a network of franchise partners, when the inquiries come in, you'll see on our website, it's got a contact point, a reference, domestic, commercial. But we also created about 45 subsites that reflect down to our ground zero, our franchise partners, because that way someone in the Hills district in Sydney can go on there and see they've got Blacktown, the Hills, got Sydney City, or they can go into Cairns, they can find that there. So you're breaking down the barriers of trust. Local person can come and talk to me. It's not a call center as such. So one of the changes we made was to utilize HubSpot in a way that allowed us to collect and disperse and refer leads. And that gave us transparency to our franchise partners, but also gave us a tracking system. So we use that now for marketing communications to our partners, or to messages going out about launches to engineers. You get an understanding of it's going to a collective database that you collected, and then people will allow you to communicate with them. We're getting a record of, did they visit, did they open, how long they spend there. So it's giving us some feedback, allows us to adjust our content or where we're going. But we also found that the biggest deal for us was face-to-face. So we were doing Zoom meetings and Teams, but when we got back to travel again this year, people were open to that. So then we come back and record that information back into HubSpot, and we allowed us to give a better understanding from a team point of view internally at head office, and also make sure that it wasn't singular. Nuflow's grown in the last 5 years by focusing on team first, by franchise partners first. So when you have that relationship, it needs work, and you need to give transparency and communication. So it's been helpful for doing that for us.
Yeah, I love that, because as you said, Eddie, we're a HubSpot supplier as well, and I think one of the things that we do see with businesses, especially as they grow, a lot of businesses we work with grow organically, and then they know in the back of their mind they've got to have a smart CRM to support the business.
Yes.
But when you switch it on, it opens up the floodgates, as you said, to support your current customer base, to nurture potential leads, and to give that whole business intelligence layer to your business, where you've got reporting dashboards, etc. So you can, at any point in the day, you can see how your business is going from a sales, marketing, and operational perspective, and obviously at regular meetings as well, so you can look at trends. You got forecasting. There's so much to these types of platforms that from our perspective as marketers and implementers of CRMs as well, I feel it's essential for all businesses to have something like this system in their business as well.
Agreed. And I suppose the learnings from corporate and own business, and then coming back to this process, a complicated CRM system, if not used easily, is not used. So having people who are older, not like myself, but older, that are actually not computer literate, ties up their time. Therefore, they become less productive in the field. So balance is needed. And I think what we've had to do is pick the parts that we needed for our business at different stages, and then we'll evolve into that. So yeah, look, we did a lot of systems out there. We're still working with HubSpot. It just means that good information is often shared, and people have got an understanding what's happening. Having gone back to a lot of a call center or a place that collects the leads and put it out, the sub-sites we've created for our partners means that they can go into them and talk to them directly. So there's probably a need for them to look at their own CRM systems locally. Yeah,
exactly. So if you're listening and you have heard about this CRM phenomenon, definitely should have a chat to a specialist about it to see how it could help your business. So look, I think let's we're getting close to sort of to wrap up time. What I would say is more of a question for businesses, Australian manufacturing businesses that are looking to grow, expand. They've probably got some great IP and are looking to expand into the international market, or at least the national, but definitely the international market. What advice would you have for them along their journey?
Have the passion to sustain it. Bring in good people that believe in where you're going, and collaboration is key. The work I've done personally couldn't be done without the support of a great team back at head office. So I do a lot of coalface presentations, masterclasses. We had to do a lot of, it's been almost 5 years of education awareness to break down the barriers to, even though you know Nuflow, or they don't actually quite know everything we do. So trying to get the product into the right market. So for instance, when we do our classes where we find out who's in the room. So who does water, who does stormwater, architect, or they specialise defence. In our business, you tailor what you do to that audience. At the same time, they actually are a funnel to the wider group of people they communicate to. So we often focus on what the presentation to the needs and suggest as an alternative. Back that up with technical, simple to read, call to action type of solutions that can be provided, and then open up the scope of capabilities. We started off with a product called Blue Line. It's a cured in place liner. It's blue in color. It does sewer and stormwater from about 40 mil to about 300 mil. Well, that's now developed, still our main product, but now it's developed into UV liners or structural liners or different types of resins. So if you know the type of industries you're aiming at, be it abattoirs, food processing, resorts, there's got to be how much are you going to disrupt me? How much are you going to be? So you've got to come back with a whole of house solution that you're quicker, you're more cost effective, you're least disruptive. So if they buy into that sort of that need or that concept, then at least you've got a chance to take that market internationally. If you go there just selling a product and sit on a trade stand and just try and market to the mass, you're wasting your time. A lot of energy is burned up. So from us, the specification or influencer industry, we're trying to provide alternate solutions for their clients. You've got to find your niche in the market. When you first get it, you're often like a deer in headlights. Where do I go? What do I do? So I think take the emotion, be strategic, be consistent, be professional, and then as our business, not only manufacturing, needs a very good installers. That is at the top of our mind of making sure the locally based accredited technician from Nuflow is a person they can be talked to, and then supported by R&D, technical training, business development, general management behind the scenes. That's valuable. That's what the franchise power of what Nuflow offers plumbers, those who want to invest into. They're getting a team of people to go behind it. You can't do that just by developing a product. You've got to have relationships, and it'll depend on the product. But in our case, we need to make sure we're top to tail, cradle to grave. We're amongst that process and assisting. Every time we talk, every time we present, every time we ask questions, we get feedback, and they go, "Well, something's just come to mind. How would you go about fixing this?" That's how you get into problem-solving solutions, and that's what Nuflow Australasia, Nuflow Technologies offers. It's not a product. It's so tell me, audit, inspect, come back, and that case study, which you'll see on our subsites and websites, and that credibility, that recognition, the Taronga Zoo, the Cairns Central Shopping Centre, the jobs we did at whatever around Australia, New Zealand, is not proof, but is also educating the industry that these Nuflow offers alternate solutions to traditional plumbing and to other relining companies.
Yeah. Look, so what we would say from a marketing perspective is that whole thing of what you just mentioned is get your case studies aligned so they're easily consumable. But most manufacturing businesses out there are we're solving a solution. We're not necessarily just selling a product. We're solving a solution. And if business in general, but especially manufacturing, if we can switch our heads to look at what is the problem that we're solving, what's the overarching solution, how's it fit into a bigger picture, have that conversation, lead with that conversation, and drop away this we're just selling a product. It gives us way more advantage in the world market and local market.
It's very strange to say we're not a salesperson. We create opportunities by asking questions, and sometimes we say we can't help, but we're going through a ticker box checks and balances. I mean, the warranty we offer is up to 50 years with a 100-year life expectancy. The warranty our installers do is 10 years for installation. You don't give away warranties like that unless you can back it up. Everything we make, we keep samples of. We've got batch numbers. So the app tracks the installation. So we offer this, and this has been about this is leading the industry. This is, we're actually helping the people assess what is pipe relining, who are the people doing it, do the products comply. Nuflow, by manufacturing, having an R&D, having a committed team, having a passionate owner, and him actually having people who are just as passionate to take it along there. Sustainability and environmentally, relining is a top option because you're not digging and dumping. You're not throwing away wasted pipes. Your footprint's smaller. So I think when we start talking about trees, we've got roots going through pipes and trees. Like, let's cut down the tree. There's a groundswell coming in councils where people don't want trees to be dug up. Relining with Nuflow gives you an option where that doesn't have to happen.
Yeah, that's great. And sustainability is the next buzzword in manufacturing as well. So take note.
Yep.
So look, I just want to switch to the theme of the MIA podcast, and that's answering this question of, will Australian manufacturing ever return to the glory days of the 60s? What's your take on that question, Jeff?
Well, we're doing it. We're proof. And I think as us looking at the different grants that are out there, there's a number of businesses that are investing. It's heavily focused, I think, towards mining or to the defence, but we're finding we fit into all those spaces underneath different people. So it might be relining pipes under an airstrip, or it might be doing the food industry by sustaining pipes. So I think there was a recognition when we applied for our grant. There's a lot of good companies out there already doing. We're just playing our role, and we want to grow this as fast as we can because we're not just employing people in the factory and head office. We've got, I think 60 installation teams, 45 franchises, and they all got families, and they're all investing in this, and they're in a community. So what we've done is got a footprint that it touches a lot of regional areas, and critically, that's a big deal. A lot of metropolitans is serviced, but regionally, whether it be in Weipa or Darwin or Western Australia or Launceston or what a part around Australia, we've got someone that can service the needs. And more recently, 7 people in New Zealand who are older, trusted, well-known people in those communities. At least they can have that conversation locally, and then we backed it up. So there's a pipeline, excuse the pun, going to all our partners that we can help them with this extra resources that have been put in place by the management of Nuflow. And that helps that local plumber, that local trainer be credible and resourced. And that's the change that the franchise model has helped Nuflow. And having just finished our national conference on the Gold Coast recently, there's a groundswell of people wanting to get out from COVID, get out and entertain and meet their clients. And we're just playing a role a little bit different to a normal manufacturer.
Yeah, I like it. The new generation of rollouts of manufacturing. So look, before we do finish up, how do people get in contact with you, Jeff?
LinkedIn, Jeff Hilditch, solutions@nuflow.net. You go to a nuflow.net website. That's where you find who we are. You can find where our partners are, our franchise partners. They're all local, so you can find your state, your territory, your province in New Zealand. That's the best way to get onto it. Go local, find us on the website, go straight to the franchise partners, talk to them. they'll be, when difficult sites present, and that's where we've probably been emerging problem-solving business. It normally starts at franchise partner level in Otago, New Zealand, or Darwin in the Territory, or Cairns, or Blacktown. So people reach out to their local person, and then we stand behind them with a combined warranty.
Perfect. And for those who are listening rather than watching, Nuflow is Nuflow, not N-E-W, so Nuflow.
.net, N-E-T, yep.
.net. So definitely head to the website. Jeff, thank you very, very much for coming on. It's been an amazing educational piece, and I think inspirational to hear such an amazing product that is being developed and manufactured in Australia as well, and no doubt a world-class leader as well.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to contribute. And Nuflow, you say you don't succeed overnight. Ed Ahern is 20 years on the journey. He's put good people into roles here to take it the next 20. And the next 20 is where, I suppose, everything's getting old. All the infrastructure is getting old. And having a no-dig opportunity, I think Nuflow is at the forefront of that. So thanks for allowing us to have an opportunity to talk to you.
Pleasure, Jeff. And for our regular listeners, we will see you in our next MIA podcast. Keep a lookout for who that is. And that's a wrap up for today. So thank you again.
Thanks, John. Have a good day.
See ya.